I would agree. The numbers that I'm showing on my thumbnail for 19 stocks, average rate of return, 5 years over 55%, 1 year 117%, year to date 75%, and 27% per month. And why I use average rate of return rather than compounded annual rate of return is because I think if you look at a month, then a year to date, then a year, and then a 5 year, you see a trend. And you see the trend is going up. Because if I multiply the year to date times 2, that's 75, that gives me an annual rate of return of 150, which is more than the last year's rate of return of 117. So that's why I use those numbers. Then I ask, and you may ask, how is that possible? How is it possible that those 19 stocks, Kerry, in your Bus 13 portfolio are outperforming the S&P 500. Your year to date on your Bus 13 is 75%. The S&P 500 is 15.4. The Dow is 3.5. And ARK Invest is 45. Well, first of all, Kathy and I basically recognize the future is in technology. It's in disruptive technology. Why am I outperforming Kathy at 45 and I'm at 75? Because I'm more focused than Kathy is. That she's got a broader range of stocks. I've only got 19 stocks, and they're all in one category, and they're all focused on one thing that is happening in this world that is going to change our world. And these numbers are just going to get bigger and bigger. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this video. How is it realistic to say that this annual rate of return could turn into 150%? Yes, it is. And I'll explain it to you right after I disclose that this is not financial advice. This is financial education as a result of my digging deep into my Bus 13 stocks.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
To put this into perspective, you need to recognize that the internet is changing, that as a result of artificial intelligence, the impact of the capacity of semiconductors and data farms is going to be astronomical. I compare it to automobiles, how the automobile industry grew over years. Well, that's exactly what's happening to the internet industry. To give you some representation, in 1990, there were 8,000 cars in the United States. That's right. By 2020, that was 7.5 million. By 2045, when the soldiers came home from World War II and I was born, there were 26 million cars in the United States. And today, there's 278 million. Well, now think of what had to happen between the 8,000 in 1900 and the 278 million in 2023. The infrastructure that had to be built and had to be changed as the capacity for automobiles grew. Well, the same thing is happening on the internet. And to get some representation, there were, in 1981, there were 200 people on the internet. In 1990, there were 3 million. In 2023, there were 4.9 billion. That's more than half of the world's population. More than half of the world's population has gotten on the internet since 1981. Well, we're still working to some degree on the infrastructure. We've been building it as the usage has grown, but all of a sudden, as a result of artificial intelligence and then machine learning coming behind it, the demand on the infrastructure is escalating. And I recognize that. And so then I said, who is going to build this infrastructure? Well, the first person that raised his hand and said I would was the CEO of NVIDIA. And he basically explained that the CPU card in your phone isn't going to work with the GPU demand that is going to be put on your phone. And his semiconductor is the only one that's going to be able to handle that capacity. And he's having that made in Taiwan. Wait a second. What does that mean? That means that our government passed a bill to the CHIP Act to bring that production back into the United States. And I've identified the two companies that are going to do that. And then at the same time, as we increase the electrical and the capacity, we've got to upgrade the switches and the pipes and everything else within the internet infrastructure. And who's doing that? The Bus 13 stocks. What I've done is go and search and find 19 stocks. I've got them right here. I got their annual average return over the last 24 years. I've compared it. Well, let me show it to you. Let me show it to you, and you see if it doesn't make sense to you that if our infrastructure for the World Wide Web, that's what we used to call it back in 1985 when there were only 200 of us on it, that has to be all rebuilt. And these are the companies that I've identified who are going to be the builders of the internet of the future. Let's take a look. This is my Bus 13 portfolio. As you can see, there are 19 stocks in it. And what I have done is gone back to 1999 and looked up what was their rate of return in 1999 and then did the same thing all the way through 2023. And then I took an average of them and said that, okay, this stock had an average rate of return of 45%. So that gives it some consistency and some predictability. Yes, it was down 71% in 2000 and then down 57% in 2008 and then down 26% in 2022. So I did that then for all 19 of the stocks that I believe are essential for building out the infrastructure of the internet over the next 5 to 10 years. Then what I did was say, okay, how did they do as a collective group? This is the average year by year, and you can see some years they were down 35%, 44%. So what that told me is they have sustainability. Even though the economy might be hurting, even though we may have a banking crisis or a dot-com bubble, these companies will continue to produce at a given rate. So then what I said was, okay, what's more recent? What's their more recent performance? So what I did was go and average or get their average rate of return for 1 year. And you can see here that this first one is 37%. Some of them, you're 54% here, 74% here. You're going to see some outlandish rates, returns, 173. You might be able to guess which one that is. And then one of them actually lost money year to date, or in 1 year, and it's down 2.6. But look what's happened in the year to date. In just the 6 months, it's up 36, and in the last month, 23. So I use these numbers. I have a search capability to find these numbers, and I looked at this one, number 19, and said, why is it up so high? What is it? And it hasn't had that consistent of a return. It actually, where all these are above 20%, it's down at 8.7. So then what I do is I go and analyze them. And let me take you to my analysis. And what I do is I enter in First of all, I'm showing you here the criteria that I use. They have to have a sizable addressable market. They have to have a history of growth of that TAM. They have to have a market cap of over $1 billion. They have to show historical revenue growth and historical income growth. So then what I do is, this is their income growth right here. And as you can see, this stock started in 2023 with $552 billion worth of income and is now up to 13.66 billion. This is million, this is billion. And you can see they've shown some here they actually didn't grow. Here they didn't grow. But as we get into the 2020s, you see some good growth numbers. Now then, and this is one of the mainstays of my portfolio. Then what I did was go and look at the anticipated growth put out by the CEO and the CFO of the companies. Such as in this stock, we've had tremendous growth, particularly in the last year. We see a good consistent growth in the annual average return. But this is what was interesting to me, is they projected a 19% growth in their revenues for 2004, 19 in 2005, and 31 in 2006. So this tells me these are some of the people who are going to grow or reconstruct, re-engineer the internet. And that's what we're doing. Here's one that just looks like it's going to explode. A 13% growth in their revenue. Now, on the other hand, I looked at some that I didn't like, and I rejected them. You'll see over here, these are all buys. This is one that is doing extremely well. Its revenues have grown 17%, 32%, 154%, 105%. It projected for 2024 of 92, 8, and 44, and 2026, as I can see, is when these people believe everything is going to kick in real big, and you see that again here. Good growth numbers. So, and they're all involved in building the infrastructure of the internet, and so I feel comfortable when I come back over here and look at their growth figures and say these numbers are going to continue to grow, and thus the numbers that I've put out for a year-to-date of 75, a 1 month of 27% is just going to continue, because we're just getting involved in this. The world has just woken up to this. You don't know the names. You will not recognize the names of most of these stocks. So why am I not showing you the ticker symbols? Why am I not showing you the names? Because I'm working hard on this, and I'm spending a lot of my hours, and I'm buying websites or programs that give me the ability to search and find out what are the projections in the future on these stocks, and how can I find out if in fact they're going to live up to what I want. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. And if you want to be a part of it, you know how to become a part of it. Now, I recognize that every industry in the world is going to be affected by this change, by this growth of the internet as we know it, by the capacity, the use capacity that is going to escalate as ChatGPT and every ramification of it hits the internet and requires more energy to be used. I looked up the amount of energy is doubled. The energy use on the internet doubled since 2015, and it's estimated it will double again by 2030. Well, that requires a rebuilding, okay? That's a given. So as I showed you, I've identified 19 stocks, and I just came across another one today that I've got to do the research on to find out if it fits into the pattern, if it is going to be a major player in this. That's what I offer you. I'm sure you saw I didn't put the names of the stock on my portfolio or in my analysis. That's because I'm doing a lot of work. I've got 3 people working for me. I've subscribed to a number of search engines or stock search programs so that I can dig this information up for you. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to outperform the Dow Jones, the S&P, and RKK as I have done thus far this year, you're going to have to pay to get on the bus, okay? We've got about 1,000 people on the bus now, a little over 1,000. There's a point where we're just going to close the doors. I know where this is going. I've seen it happen before, and I'm going to drive this bus into a very profitable future for me and maybe for you. That will be your decision.